Listening to the Psychic Coffee Shop Podcast Network.
Hello. Yes, hello and welcome to Mountain Bears. I'm Aeson Knight, and of course with me tonight is,
And again it plays.
Hello. Hello and welcome to Mountain Bears.
Oh, we're having fun. I
We
love it.
are Technical City. I'm telling you, Technical City.
I know,
Mercury is
right?
on
And
retrograde, and I am like, forget it.
Oh, hi, Ashley. Glad you got to see the intro.
Yes. Yeah, we've only had it for 2 shows, because, it had to be it just had to be a little problem.
Alrighty. And hello, Facebook user. I'm going to assume is Brenda?
No.
No? No. Guess again. Go fish.
Good fish. Who knows? If they're Facebook user, they're Facebook user. If they're
Okay.
YouTube user, they're YouTube user. We just leave it at that and we'll walk our way around. Oh, it has been a week of deep breath.
Okay.
Like literally, it's just been that, oh, we can breathe now.
Basically, I was right.
Oh, okay, you were right.
Well, she has a format, I've noticed. She always does like the wave, name 1, wave, name 2.
It depends on where you're watching it from. If you're watching it in the group, it will not show your name because that's part of the privacy of our group for our Patreons, is they can actually shadow watch.
Oh, yes, we saw Biden had articles of impeachment filed. We were like, oh, this will be coming.
So let's talk about this lovely representative that has done this. She's also the one that carried a gun into the Senate floor. She's also the one that believes in QAnon, which we're talking about tonight because it's now safe to talk about it because the crazy isn't that crazy.
It's eating itself. It's eating itself. It's just meh.
Oh, honey. Yeah, she's a QAnon believer that's still believing that Trump will be president. Instead of president of the book club, trying to be president of the United States again. We've seen that. It didn't work. So why don't you run down what you know, what you think of QAnon, and I'll throw in my bits.
Well, QAnon has been an interesting group up to now. Now it's just gotten hilarious. So they're a conspiracy theory little group that has been sitting here like pulling in the furthest reaches of like tinfoil hat land for with this built-in theory or idea that Trump is the supreme emperor. He should be president forever. They are totally behind this dictatorship. The world's going to end if he's not president. Like they've been riding this wave. And so they've pulled together a lot of followers. It's been weird. It's been really super weird. And then Trump waved, said goodbye, and exited stage left. And Now, like QAnon and a few other groups are all like eating themselves. Like we saw the beginning of that January 6th, or well 7th, I guess, roughly, when they started trying to simultaneously claim credit for the insurrection while claiming it was Antifa, or Antifa. Yeah. Who could keep up? It was like the Schrodinger event to them. Like they couldn't.
Actually, what they thought was going to be the Schrodinger event
Mhm.
was that the inaugural was actually going to be an arrest party, and then they were going to, like, kill Democrats they didn't like, kill Republicans they didn't like, hang people off the Capitol, and have the military take over the world. Well, the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then afterwards they were there's been so much, and it's all like, okay, what? Like, there was supposed to be, Biden's arrest before the swearing-in ceremony. There was supposed to be this. There was supposed to be that. Like, it just went, like, spiraled quickly out of control.
It did. And it's continuing to spiral quickly out of control. We see this out of cults all the time, people. Out of cults all the time. They have a belief of some guy named Q that's like knows all this and was, watch and count. They were at the point that they would they would watch a rally or go to a rally and count the flags on the stage, and if there were 17 of them, so that says that Q's there, trying to decode speeches and text and Twitters, and it's like, oh my God,
yes.
Like, you're going to need deprogramming.
Yeah, and like their base belief is that there's I believe, anyone feel free to jump in, correct me if I'm wrong, is that there's a shadow government that, Trump was going to be the great cleanupper of this, that, all of this was coded messages, and, again, it just, there's so many components of it.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately it does fall into this, cult level fanaticism that Trump supporters have had.
Right.
Like, it basically, typically what you would see with a cult is you have a fanatical leader who cultivates followers. What happened with Trump is, like, the followers showed up, like, for him, and then these other groups showed up and took the followers.
Right.
It's been weird. It's been really, really weird.
Right.
Like, yeah, like the cult model is a little off, but yeah.
And actually, it's not. It's very much like Scientology.
Well, but what I mean in terms of how it formed, like, Trump wasn't trying to form a cult. He wasn't he was not a charismatic person that was looking to form a cult. He was a charismatic person who inadvertently generated a cult following that other people have exploited and become cult leaders of.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. It's a little off, like, on that cult model. But everything else after that has been kind of, and I think that's why you're seeing the implosion level.
Well, yeah, and you see, we have seen problems out of this early. The pizza shooting, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, this dude, there was a bogus Onion report that a pizza place in Washington, D.C. was also selling children. He goes there with an AK-47, shoots up the place, and finds pizza.
Well, yeah, that's the other part of it. I always forget that part. Yeah. So shadow government, and then, pedophile rings or pedophile sex rings all throughout this, Again, it's hard to, like, sit here, take it in, and be like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, it sort of goes that like Heaven's Gate level of like, okay, you know, that, all right, that's a lot to take in, but alrighty then. Or
Yeah.
the Scientology route. Very true.
Well, you know, because it's the Scientology route in general is another route, and it's another cult. It's been, you know, Troublemaker. If you haven't read the book, it's a great book to read. It's not on my top 10, but it's one of those that really speaks to religious organizations that get out of hand.
Mm-hmm.
But what we see with QAnon here is it's not only a religious organization, it's one of those conspiracy theory organizations.
Mm-hmm.
That I believe really took stock in the Illuminati. Now, back in the 70s, there was a guy going around and doing sermons about the Illuminati and how witchcraft had an assault in the government. And I wish I could find that cassette. It's probably up in the attic somewhere. A lot of what I'm here have heard out of QAnon, and a lot of what I'm seeing out of them is the same thing. It's like, dude cashed in.
Effectively. But no, it's yeah. But no, so but then going back to like its implosion.
Yeah.
Now normally with cults you'll see them like they have a lot of mileage to them. Like your standard traditional cult typically can have a lot of mileage to it. Even if like you lose a leader dies, a leader leaves, whatever, you can push that on forward. I don't think this is moving forward. Like they're like literally these groups are imploding left, right, and center.
And over and over, they're going to. The problem is we've got so much fallout going on from them. And when someone leaves the cult, it's very dangerous.
Well, and right now that's not really what's happening. Like this is like the cult trying to like reimagine itself very, very quickly. Like, okay, the supreme leader, you know, left or is no more. And okay, now we have this set of like strange beliefs, like this weird conglomeration of beliefs, independent of like our fanatical love for Trump. We have this weird collection of beliefs. Now we need to like focus them into something.
Right, and they're doing what most doomsday cults do when the day of reckoning doesn't happen. They just move the goalpost, and move the goalpost, and move the goalpost, and it's like, oh my goodness, get a grip, get a clue. We have a new president. We have a new Senate. We have a new House of Representatives. You've alienated yourself from your family. You've alienated yourself from your workplace. You may have even alienated yourself all the way into jail. Be done with it.
And right now that's really hard.
Yeah.
Because this is a lot of people waking up to either trying to find like somewhere else to put their belief, or another representative for it, another group for it, someone in that group to represent it and carry the torch, or like start to process the fact that this was like a complete house of cards, and it just collapsed on you, doused in gasoline, already on fire.
Right.
Like that's how bad.
Yeah.
That's a lot, because what we've basically run for at least 4 years, probably a lot more, is like two parallel worlds. Or like they're living in a parallel universe. With their ideas and beliefs. And to some degree, it's sort of like having a severe mental illness in which you are not part of reality.
Right.
Like that would be my interpretation of it. Like that's not a diagnosis, that like I'm not a doctor. But like mentally, when I try to work through the construct, I've got to go with it as it's got to be a lot like having, you know, a twisted or altered view of reality, like a parallel universe, or someone with a severe mental illness who is like perceiving all these things that no one else, like, granted, all of reality is our agreement of what is real and what is not. But when you've been running for 4+ years on alternative facts and fake news and, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and conspiracy theories, nonstop, that's not something you quickly like snap out of.
Right.
Like, that is your reality. These are your people. There are other people telling you this reality is true, which is a far cry from being in a situation where you would have, you know, someone with a severe mental illness that can be like, no, there are not dragons over there. There are not fuzzy pink elephants over here. You know, here's some medication. We can get rid of those for you. Right. And you can join us in our reality versus the one you're living in.
Right. And, you know, that's going to be a thing. I mean, 2 years within and literally it really gained momentum a lot. And then we had the anti-vaxxers coming in. We had, you know, the anti-government coming in. That's a lot to process, and they're going to need some mental help. Anybody coming out of a cult situation needs mental help because they have to deal with, okay, what just happened here in reality, or what is this all about? And they have to then catch up and realize, damn, I believe this, this, and this, and that's not true. But we see this in a lot of situations, cult behavior, not occult behavior, cult behavior. And I keep making that distinction because people get them intermixed. And it's like Antifa. Antifa is not an organization. There is no card for Antifa. There is no leader for Antifa. There is no website for Antifa. There is no phone number to call to join Antifa. Anti-fascism, which is what Antifa is a series of beliefs that no, shit ain't fair. And it needs to be fair. And no, not following a single leader and looking for, you know, a king or anything else. Guess what? We fought a couple world wars over fascism.
We have.
Yes.
It's been a lot.
Yes.
And honestly, the sad part is, I think a lot of people, this was like settled history. Like, this was an unfortunate part of our history. It took a lot for us to understand and get to all on the same page with this, only to find out, oh, okay, a lot of people didn't join us on that page. They've been over here with this whole series of beliefs that they've been living out, and okay, like we thought the problem was like this big. We found out, no, it's much larger than we ever imagined.
We saw a lot of that out of the past 4 years. We saw a lot of that exposing that closet of nutsiness.
We have.
You know, and I think we're all still going through that first real breath. I mean, even this morning when I woke up, I said, are we at war yet?
Yes. He did. He really, truly did. And it's like, no, it's just another day on Earth.
Yeah.
Like, you know, some stuff's getting done.
Some stuff's not getting done yet. It will get done. That type of thing. All right. So, any questions on QAnon or any theories you want to throw out there that got mixed into it? Because I found a lot of the beliefs of the Illuminati was brought back up through QAnon, and I'm like, that's an Illuminati viewpoint. Gee, that's been misproven. There are, like, the Bilderberg Group, which is an investment community. There are, you know, But again, that's the think tank investment community. Where do we want to take enterprise to type thing? But I'm like, guys, this is old theory. Like,
Well,
damn.
never let a good conspiracy theory go to waste.
Well, true.
I mean, unfortunately, the thing that makes a conspiracy theory attractive is the fact that it does take bits and pieces of information that is pulled from different places, looks at it from a different angle, runs it against a generally incorrect series of thoughts, and arrives at a conclusion that, you know, tells the story of how all those things fit together.
Right.
So, you know, don't let someone else reinvent the wheel. You're like, why waste the effort? Like, go ahead and just recycle this crap.
Right.
Like, just tell it again to a different group of people, and, you know,
that act like the, you know, and it's like the lady that threw the tantrum in Target and was arrested for destruction of property and shoplifting over gas being sold. And it's like, these are things we're seeing, and it's like, this is insane. You know, Ashley says the adjustment period to normalcy is going to be just as crazy for us on the outside of the cult. Yeah, it is. You know, and it's getting into those habits that we got used to. Like, you know, the White House holds a daily press briefing where reporters are encouraged to ask questions. And these are not just certain reporters. They're rotating the reporters. And it's like, oh, whoever thought it? Oh, yeah, we saw this. We saw this 8 years ago, 10 years ago. This is where we got to know a lot of how the executive branch works. By the way, it's on YouTube, so you don't have to wait for it to hit the news stations. You can go watch it there.
Well, but we also have the, you know, like the never-ending Trump news cycle of, you know, like, okay, literally not wanting to know, because I'm sorry, 4+ years I've wasted so many brain cells that I will never get back on Trump-related news. But additionally, not knowing what the next thing is going to be and whether or not it's going to, you know, potentially, you know, kill everyone.
And then, you know, things like Dr. Fauci, he looks 10 years younger.
Basically, I think everyone's starting to look a little bit younger. Like, a lot of people are looking younger.
Yeah.
Especially on the Democrat side.
And he's quite funny, which is surprising. I always thought he was a fudderduff. He's actually quite funny and comical and will make statements and will be hilarious. And he's the type of funny that doesn't know he's being funny.
Well, you know.
Yeah.
Well, but it's easier to professionally, I've always found, like, I can laugh and joke and cut up with my clients, but there are some moments where, you know, it's like if I have my boss standing over my shoulder and I don't know what it's going to take to get me fired today because, you know, I'm working for an evil dictator, or at least a dictator wannabe, I would assume that would be a little stressful. Like, you know, like, I haven't been quite there with any of my employment opportunities, but I would assume if you're sitting there with your boss, like, right next to you, you know, a person who can literally get rid of you at a whim and potentially trash your entire career, yeah, I think I would be a little serious.
Right.
And keep trying to just make it through.
Right.
Just hang in there. Like,
well, I think, you know, the world leaders are now going, oh.
Yes.
You know,
absolutely.
They're very much more excitable. You know, they've got some business to do. Of course, he's dealing with just domestic right now. He'll be dealing with other things later. But what also made the news, and it's coming comical. Photoshop is at its best.
Oh,
Yes, Bernie.
Bernie's little mittens.
No, Bernie and his mittens. The lady that made his mittens said, "We do not have any more mittens to sell. We sold out." I expected Michelle Obama's outfit to make the news. That was a gorgeous outfit. Like, nice, nice, nice. Love it. No, Bernie Sanders' mittens made the news, and now he's been popping up everywhere, including on the Hermit card. So we have at the time, we have Bernie on the Hermit card. We have RBG on the Justice card. Guys, we can have a full deck of tarot made probably by the end of this decade of different events that I think would be a totally cool deck.
It could be very nifty. It would be very nifty. Oh, Ashley's mad that the mittens are sold out.
I know they're
really cool. And like the story behind them is that like it was her and a friend that were making them out of scrap material and recycled plastics, and you know, like they're very like, you know, niche. Like
Etsy store. They have an Etsy store.
Yes.
Which I think is hilarious that we have a senator that orders from an Etsy store, not orders from a designer.
No.
Okay.
No, the maker was actually inspired after, I believe he lost the Democratic nomination to send mittens to him. And spent the whole time making them going, this is crazy. I'm going to send him mittens. Or lost a nomination. I shouldn't say Democratic nomination. I don't know what nomination offhand. I read the story. It didn't sink. But no, he had lost a nomination. She figured it would be the last time he would ever run. She felt really bad. So yeah, it was like, it's a weird little universe kind of thing.
Right, but I think it's a totally cool little universe kind of thing. That's like, but no, everyone's all dressed up, and Bernie's like, this is Tuesday. It's cold.
Well, more importantly, like, you know, I've got other things to do today.
Yeah.
Like there's the one, you know, little meme about it that it's, you know, sort of like, you know, effectively, Joe's got this thing, I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
Bye. You know, and you could like mentally see the rest of the list is like, you know, buy milk at the store, get an inspection sticker, you know, swing by, you know, talk to the grandkids for a minute, you know, like just like it. Yeah. Like you're saying, like it's a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Like, okay, not much more approachable you can get there. Like I got a list of errands, things to do. Like, come on, let's get this over with.
Yeah, let's not make it long. Can we just get it done? And then I really enjoyed the performances. In general, they were very nice performances. I think Lady Gaga came out in a beautiful gown. J-Lo, I've seen that outfit. Like, I've seen that outfit, J-Lo. You should have dressed better.
Hey, leave it alone. Sorry, I'm of the opinion that like women can rewear costumes. It's fine. Like leave it alone.
Concerts, but not the inaugural.
Oh, totally can.
Nah, that should have been like a brand new outfit idea, not one you've worn to other events.
Okay.
And she should have matched the theme of purple.
The theme was not purple.
Yes, it was.
There were purples and blues and teals and, you know, navy and like there was stuff all over the place.
Hillary Clinton wore purple. Michelle Obama wore purple.
Okay, but our vice, you know, Kamala Harris wore like a navy blue.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, there's bride colors, and then you know, this has always been a theory for events. There's the main bride colors, which was teal and blue, and then there's the bridesmaids.
I know, but okay, and I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Was anyone else having a moment, though, like when you're seeing what Dr. Biden is wearing and you're going, I think she has read some Margaret Atwood. I think she is a fan of The Handmaid's Tale.
Okay.
And I'm a little curious if that was an intentional color choice. Okay. Because that whole series is has a lot of representation through color.
Mm-hmm.
And actually that kind of color of blue and teal, it would be an odd choice. Let's just go there. Like if she's watched The Handmaid's Tale, I would be curious.
Right.
If that was in her head, or if she was just like, I like this color of blue and teal, I'm good.
With Shirachi crystals.
Oh, the jacket had flowers from each state and territory. Oh, that is so cool.
Mm-hmm.
That is very nifty.
You know, she's going to be a different first lady than we've ever been used to.
Well, she's keeping her day job.
Yes.
Like, first and foremost, she's keeping her day job.
Mm-hmm.
She is holding on to the doctor title.
Mm-hmm. Because she is a doctor, not a medical doctor. She's a doctor of literature.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. You know, and she told Joe, yeah, I'll be first lady, but I'm also staying doctor first lady. And I'm going to continue teaching writing at the college and working on educational programs that I kicked off with Michelle. And you go be president, just like you were vice president. I'll show up when you need me to. Otherwise, I'll be in my office.
Yeah. It's got to be an interesting moment for students, though.
Oh,
like, do you just call her Dr. Biden? Do you call her First Lady Dr. Biden now? Like, I hope she doesn't teach like a freshman level. Please tell me she's only doing like master's level. Like, please tell me she is not going to be stuck with a lecture course. Like, I just can't imagine the stress of being a freshman and having her like intro to literature. Like, that would just be like, oh God, please no. Or the inverse, getting flooded with a bunch of students that are like, you know, just there for the first lady show, like bragging rights.
Her Wikipedia doesn't say what she does, what she teaches. English, professor of English at Northern Virginia Community College. So it can be a master levels class because it's a community college.
Oh, valid point. Wasn't even thinking. Okay, fair point. Fair point.
Yeah.
Sorry, it would be familiar with the school.
Community colleges are normally 2 years, so it would be freshman and sophomore English.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here you go. Sorry, it was just a thought. I was like, wonder how that's going to work out. But yeah.
Yeah, she's going to be our first working first lady, which is to be interesting. I think we'll start seeing from her office a lot more pressure on the federal government and their act together to supporting working mothers.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, and at least on the education front, I think we're going to hear a lot of input from our new first lady.
Well, yes,
especially after DeVos.
You know, well, not only that, but she's also reopened the program that she started honoring military wives and families,
mm-hmm.
and connecting them with social groups. What I also really liked out of this is some of the memes about cleaning the house.
Oh, God.
You know.
Somewhere between, somewhere between The Exorcist and, Poltergeist references.
Right. Well, those, and then they also the ones of can't talk right now, Joe. I'm doing hot girl shit, and you've got Michelle Obama Hillary Clinton and her saging the White House, which was done, by the way. I have it on good standings that they had to sage the White House. So yes, there was a form of exorcism within that $500,000 we had to pay to clean the White House.
I don't know. I'm I'm sure the comments before they got to the White House had to have been great.
Well, our Madam Vice President hasn't even moved into her house yet. She's still staying at her home that she has in D.C. because it was in such disrepair.
Oh, dear.
Like cracked in the chimneys, like run down, non-maintenance done. Like, come on, Mike Pence. They didn't even, clean up after they moved out. It looked like a damn hotel that a drunken party had occurred at.
Probably because one had.
Probably.
Like, I can't even fault Mike Pence at this point. Like, could anyone? Like,
well, what I'm thinking is, these are American houses. Do we not have groundskeepers? Like, have we not hired a gardener?
Well, I'm just saying though. Like, can you imagine? Normally I would not feel sympathy or have a lot of nice things to say about Mike Pence, but can we just all agree that after your boss tries to kill you, one, I can understand some heavy drinking, and two, that maybe, if you survive through inauguration, you might need a little bit of libation.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little party.
Right.
Or a big one. Like, at this point, just, I'll cut him some slack at this point. Just saying.
I know. But no, according to CNN, it has fallen into total disrepair. We are looking at $500,000 in repairing this 19th century home. $500,000. What the hell?
But in D.C.
Not in D.C., in Arlington, actually.
Well, but you know what I mean. Like, in that area.
Right.
It's not like housing is cheap there to start with, and you're talking about restoring a historic home. You know that it is on a historical register, and there is no, let's put in, let's gut it and start over. Like, no, you don't get to do that.
Right.
Like, everything's got to go back the way that it was.
Well, again, and it's got to be fixed because it's broken.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah. It's apparently very expensive to live there, I could imagine.
Yeah, and doing historical restoration, I can understand. But not having a chimney, two cracked chimneys, floorboards apparently broken. Yeah, I mean, they damaged the home.
I'd say this probably may fall back on, I don't know how much of that may fall back on Trump. Just being an ass.
Right.
Like, not approving shit. Making sure that his staff is not approving stuff that has to do with the vice president. I think it's been a game of pettiness for a while.
Right.
Not to mention, Trump is known as a slumlord in some circles.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you really think he's going to be a great landlord as president? Like,
right.
Not so much. Oh, Shannon's like, I can see keeping the exterior facade looking historical, but I want a modern interior. See, that's where I'm at with, classic cars. Like, I can totally see myself in a Studebaker. I just also want a nav system and some kick and bass.
Right.
Basically take the inside of my Kia Soul, transplant it into a Studebaker. I'm happy.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm at in life.
Right.
I want the look, but I don't want the crap. Like, I'll even take like a polycarbonate exterior. I'm cool with that. Like, that much steel, like, no, I'll totally go for like a 4-cylinder like Studebaker with a polycarbonate body.
Exterior, yeah.
Oh, she is all about the retro refrigerators. Nice. Those are nice.
I could see that. But no, apparently the vice president is having to live at our guest home, the Blair House, traditionally reserved for the next president. Also, I thought it was really interesting on the license plates because, of course, Biden's limo said 46, her limo said 49th, and I was like, to your side, your additional. Okay, I could see that happening, but she's actually the 49th vice president. How we get some extra vice presidents in there? Some got fired.
Well, things happen.
But it's been a highly interesting week. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of taking a deep breath, but also some reminders of how usefully we have gotten used to Dramageddons, problem areas. Take this off because it took me back in shock when it flew out of my mouth.
Okay.
Speeding ticket.
Oh, in terms of there are some places we just don't go.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said those words, and I always have issues with those words. Like,
right.
No, I grew up with those words. I grew up with the, as my grandmother would have termed it, as politely as a woman of her age could, Colored Town was an area that, was part of our city that you just don't go into. Anything north of High Street, you don't go there. And I'm like, why?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no, sorry, no.
Right.
I don't
Well,
what
happened was one of my very close friends got a speeding ticket doing 57 and a 55 in an area of West Virginia. I'm like, we don't go there because we may not come back. What was she even doing down there?
Yeah, that's where your head went. And I'm like, what?
Uh-huh.
It's like, no, we keep driving through there. We rack up some speeding tickets until we turn that into something that's actionable. Like, hi, here's the pattern. Like, this is discriminatory policing. Like, keep handing me tickets. See how long your career lasts.
This is the same area of town that I got a ticket for being in the right-hand lane. Being in the right-hand lane. A 2-lane highway. Being in the right-hand lane. What? These are the things that have been programmed into us, and it's like, wow.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and while the avoidance is natural, like, again, going back to things from my life that, have been, said to or about me, for my dad, it was let him stick a penny in the light socket. He'll learn. That when we suffer, a painful consequence, we learn to avoid an activity. Like, don't do that. But it also, when we're talking about people, it just continuously, reinforces that power. It reinforces that environment. I mean, getting a speeding ticket or getting a ticket, period, sucks.
Right.
No one wants that.
Yeah.
But it also, the more you can pull this together and show the reality, the harder it gets to ignore.
Right.
Continue to ignore. Maybe her ticket isn't the one that does it, but it'll be part of doing it.
Right.
Like, guarantee that. Like, because the more times you can sit there and say, this is what's going on here, like, here's the statistics, what's happening. Here's how your policing's going. Yeah.
Yeah. Here's what's going on with your policing that has 4 members of it.
Absolutely.
You know, and we see this in smaller areas.
Oh, well, that's a fun one. Sorry, you're like throwing new stuff at me. Like, I haven't seen that one yet, but this sounds interesting. Oh, good, and it doesn't have like tons of like stuff.
No.
Unfortunately, well, I can't read it.
Well, a lot of us can't outread it because, you know, we're not going to pay to read it, but the idea there.
Okay.
Again, the top paragraph's all you need from this article.
Okay, so yeah, it's basically the mindfulness business is thriving on our anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
I say take it away.
Well, everyone knows this new movement for mindfulness and mindfulness speaking, mindfulness thought. Of course, you know, I've preached till I'm blue in the face about meditation and how you should meditate to music you like. And, you know, if you're going to do spiritual meditation, you don't have to do it guided, that it's better to just rock on and rock up to give that thing. But the American culture in general has had a lot of anxiety issues, and now we're starting to see a business take off to address it called mindfulness, which is the thought of bringing yourself into oneness, exploring those spiritual avenues. But it's making a booming business.
Mm-hmm. Well, and again, in times of crisis, people do often turn to religion.
Mm-hmm.
Or to drugs or alcohol, or, you know, there's a lot of places people turn to cope.
Right.
You know, and that is part of that. And it's not a negative that I'm saying it that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's the hard reality of it is this is part of your coping. This is how people cope with situations.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's sort of like there's also an article out of Charleston this week.
Mm-hmm.
That the what was it? I forget how it was worded. It was the intersections bill, the one that the county commission was taking up regarding intersections and preventing people from standing in them or near them, or, you know, yeah. That was, you know, a lot of the comments on that. Had more to do with homelessness and, you know, drug addiction than they had to actually do, surprisingly, with protesting and you know, the actual problem that this bill was supposed to address. And the basically it was more about the people panhandling, or people's views on people with drug addiction, or the type of people they see congregating at intersections being perceived, they see them as drug addicts. And a lot of negative things were getting thrown into that. So again, it kind of leaks over that, you know, we can end up being stressed about a problem that we don't understand, and we try to find a way to make a story about it, and turn it into something we can handle, which to some degree is what it seemed like a lot of people were hoping was going to happen with this bill, that, you know, remove that population from my vision.
Right.
You know, let's not tackle homelessness. Get rid of the homeless people. Lock them up, put them on a bus, don't care, get them out of my sight, get them out of my town.
Right.
That, I think in there's a disconnect.
Well, I think not a large disconnect in general when it comes to the homeless population, especially here in West Virginia. Because, you know, West Virginia is one of those places that has weird things like that is not technically enforced, but there's a lot of cities that have ordinances. Like if you're going to panhandle, you have to have a panhandler's permit, and if you don't, you can be arrested. Which,
you know, cart, you know, before the horse. If if you need to get, if you're panhandling to get money, the obvious implication is you don't have money to pay for a permit to stand on a corner and get money. It's kind of, what? Like, how's that work?
Well,
I get it if it's like you're standing out there for your church to raise money for, whatever, save the children, feed the children, clothe the children, send the children to the moon, whatever. If you're doing this as an organization, then, putting out that money to get a permit to then go stand with a bucket and a sign and solicit donations, I can understand that. But when you're looking at it from the perspective of how that's most likely going to be enforced is against people who are, either literally destitute and have no way to, other than panhandling to get money, or people who choose to panhandle under the guise of, not that I necessarily think that's a big booming industry.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I'm sure there's always bad actors.
Right.
But yeah, it becomes easier for people to discharge their discomfort with seeing people panhandling with the idea that, oh, they're just all crackheads. Oh, right. They're all alcoholics. Oh, they're too lazy to work. Oh, they're going to get in a Mercedes after this and leave laughing at us, poor stupid people. That, they're just too lazy to work. Like we make a story. Again, it's kind of the same thing, is we look for ways to cope with uncomfortable feelings.
Right. And it's just more of this, what I call hiding away.
Okay.
We hide away our mental illnesses. We hide away, death is now a foregone thing. We don't really deal with it much. We do the services, but that's it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and often don't plan for them. Like, it becomes a surprise for your family to figure out after you're deceased.
Right.
What do you want? And we've talked about that a lot.
Yeah.
If you haven't, gotten that point, please make your pre-needs. Please pre-discuss your, wishes for, do you want a funeral? Do you want to be cremated? Do you, want to be turned into jewelry? Do you want to be put in an urn? Do you want to be, what? What do you want?
Yeah, please put it into writing.
Yeah.
Please put it into writing. Decide who's going to have control over your remains. Because otherwise, everyone in your family has a choice and a vote, and if they're not put into writing.
Absolutely. And, accept that this is part of life. Death is a part of life.
Right.
It's just the final stage of life. That's it. That's what this is. And it's not a morbid conversation unless you make it one.
Right.
It's not like you're saying, I want to die, or, if you're bringing it up with a parent or an elder relative, it's not just you're saying you want them to die. It's that you respect each other enough to know what you want.
Yep. And you at least have choices and everything in there.
I mean, it's frightening the number of people that can have the conversation about, well, and then there's also the preceding conversations. Most people can handle the the retirement phase / caregiving stage conversation. Do you want to go to a nursing home? Do you want to stay at home? Do you want to, go to a assisted living facility? Do you want to move to a senior village? Do you want to move to blah, blah, blah? And in that, there should be an understanding that there's a next phase of life after that called death. And that's, and hopefully that's not going to be next week.
Right.
It could be, but it hopefully won't be. And, respect each other. You can respect someone's, wishes not to go to a nursing home, but you can't be, respectful enough to ask, what do you want when you die?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
And updating that's highly important. Updating the paperwork also. You buy a car.
Uh-huh.
Your old car should have been listed in your will because it's valued over $500. Listing your new car in your will. And I'm not talking when you're 60 or 65. I'm talking when you're 18.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's an evolving life document.
Yes.
And you got to treat it as such. You got to give it attention as such.
Right.
But that is a challenge for a lot of people. It's sort of like saving for retirement. It's hard to find 18-year-olds that immediately start working somewhere and end up there for 30 years that have retirement plans.
Right.
It just sort of happened.
Mm-hmm.
Not that anyone staying at a job for 30 years is a thing anymore. It's a dying breed. Literally and figuratively. Of jobs that have long-term plans. But at 18, you're not really thinking about retirement. You're also not thinking about insurance. You're not thinking about death. You're not thinking about these things. It's a large part of talking to people earlier in life.
Right.
Instead of turning it into an end-of-life discussion, it needs to be an ongoing conversation.
Mm-hmm.
You need to start this when someone becomes a legal adult.
Yeah.
This is a thing you're going to have to deal with, or someone else is more importantly going to have to deal with.
Right.
What do you want?
Mm-hmm.
And we need to stop making that conversation about imposing our wishes on someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Respect each other's wishes. Even if that's not what you want, even if your religious views disagree with it,
mm-hmm.
If that's what someone wants,
right,
then that's what they want.
Mm-hmm. And that's how they want it executed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's highly important. It's very important to do. It's very important to get real with yourself and talk about where do you want to retire at. Personally, I want some place that is warm. I don't want to see snow in my 60s.
Well,
yeah,
there is that.
Yeah.
I figured you were retiring to Tijuana.
That would be nice. I really enjoy. I'm really digging this move to Mexico idealism as long as you can get it up. I love the house design, especially with the private courtyard. And lovely brick walls all the way around your property.
Well, there's that.
Yes, I love that Spanish style of home, and it's nice and warm. And we don't have snow, and bills are much cheaper there.
Well,
I can have them made for $300 a month.
Well, yeah, except I'm gonna spontaneously combust 5 minutes after I get there. You're not even gonna have to worry about having me cremated. I'll just turn into a pile of ash.
You're going to work on your tanning over the next 20, 30, 40 years.
Well, maybe one day.
You enjoyed Mexico when you were there.
I did. It was a good trip. It was not and granted, Tijuana. It's little different. It's not like I was in rural mountainside Mexico.
Right.
Way off from civilization. It was Tijuana.
Mm-hmm.
It was not all that crazy. It was actually very calm.
Mm-hmm.
Now there were some crazy things. But again, overall, it's wasn't a crazy trip.
Mm-mm.
I felt safe walking from where, I was at, the reason I was there. I was perfectly fine, with walking off to go, hit a convenience store for stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Or go over here and get tacos.
Mm-hmm.
Really good tacos. Really good tacos.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't have an issue with it.
Yeah.
It was not, because I know a lot of people want to talk about Mexico. And again, I'm in Tijuana. It's not like I'm that far over the border. It's not like I'm that far into any crazy area of Mexico. but it was not that different.
Mm-hmm.
Like, some of the stores had different names. Some of the experiences were a little different. It's very odd being in a country in which English is not a predominant language, and you get really, really grateful when someone speaks fluent English. And because suddenly your high school Spanish is failing you miserably. Because it just mentally, like, all of its... That was the one thing I did notice, is it's not that I wasn't understanding anything. It's that words were going by so fast, because much like speaking English as a native English speaker, I don't really have to think that much before I speak.
Of course, scientists say living in that environment for 3 months will cause you to become a fluent Spanish speaker.
Yeah, I wasn't there that long.
And apparently the Dominican Republic sells houses for crazy low amounts too. Had a family home sell for under $20K out there, and it wasn't ran down or wrecked, from what she understands. Yeah, property values are really cheap outside of America.
And can be about that much here in West Virginia if you look in the right place. Just God help you. Like, you can get a really nice house for like $20,000, but I'm going to tell you now, it's not going to be convenient to anything.
Right.
You know.
Well, again, I could definitely live not convenient to anything.
But it is part of the conversation, and it actually is a thing that people are doing. They're taking like modest and meager, retirements. That either because of an unexpected turn of events or bad stock market, whatever, when they were ready to retire, or just to upgrade their retirement, are looking at living outside the U.S. because it is a lot harder to do long-term financial planning working in a U.S. economy. Because in a lot of instances, people have had massive life events and have had to pull money out. They started late on saving. The volatility of employment has created a lot of people with like disjointed retirement plans. Like, you got a 401k over here that you turned into an IRA, and then you've got this and that, and and some jobs really don't lend themselves to massive retirement savings.
They don't.
And for a lot of people, it's very scary when they start hearing the numbers that they ought to have. Given, like, some people literally on what they've managed to save for retirement can't afford to live that long.
Right.
To be blunt, like, if you're retiring at 64 or 65, somewhere around there, based on those estimates of what you're going to need, you might end up in a situation that if you ain't dead by 90, you're kind of in trouble.
Right.
Like, that retirement's going to run out.
Right.
Which has also forced a lot of people to stay employed longer.
Right.
Just with a fear of, if I don't build this up, I'm not going to have anything to live on in a decade or so.
Right.
The inverse problem being some people end up dropping dead at work just because they were continuing to work because they were scared to retire and what uncertainty that might bring.
Right. And it is a lot of fear of what's going to happen. Looking at mine, I could work until I know psychics that are 85 and still work a full schedule, have a full booked appointment schedule. And we've seen that, and then if you're an independent contractor, there is no retirement. You never retire unless you've planned for it.
Yeah.
Basically.
Alrighty.
Okay, so we do actually have a question. We do have a question.
Okay. So just read the date of birth since it's Facebook user.
It's Kathy.
Okay. So Kathy, 7/28/62. I blocked my sister because she is vicious and yet always plays the victim. She told my mom she is in therapy, so will that help her, or are all she talks about makes her the victim, so therapy won't help in that situation? Well, I need to block and avoid her the rest of my life.
Let me take a look here, honey. And there are people that get pink slips. Sometimes pink slips are a good thing for people, and I think that some people need to behold that. So first we have the Ace of Swords, followed by the Fool. Then we have the Nine of Swords, followed by the Eight of Pentacles, meaning that you're worrying too much about this situation. I think blocking her is a good thing for now. Let her win her role back into your life on her own. Otherwise, they stay out in the wilderness. Issue pink slip and move forward.
Okay.
Do I think therapy will help her? Yes. Do I think that she's always going to have a victim mentality? Yes. Do I think that she should be reading daring greatly? Yes.
There you go.
All right. And avoiding her isn't avoiding her. You shouldn't avoid her. You should make her avoid you.
Fair point.
Yeah. Reflecting on my own personal experience, my father has a daughter that got a pink slip the day he died, and she's going to remain fired. I have other great sisters out there that replace her, and I have a great time with them. But she can remain fired as long as she keeps her mentality.
Yes. Absolutely. Which I don't think hers is going to change.
No.
Like, yeah. Just the stories I've heard. No, you're good.
Right.
But no, when dealing with toxic people, you do always have to recognize that you can choose to be a part or not of that situation.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you do have to choose what's best for you. That's not being selfish.
No.
That's putting on your mask before you can help others. I mean, that's all that is.
Right. And you sometimes have to eliminate toxic people and toxic situations for your betterment. And I have no problem firing people in my life. Why? Because there's always someone else to fill that role. And I've done that with a number of people. It's like, no, I'm not living in your victim mentality. No, I'm not living on your drama. No, I'm not living on you, responding to you when you are not feeding me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But no, always a bummer topic, but always like
it's a bummer topic, but it's a good topic to have because people think that, especially with Facebook, like I really wish they had chosen another word other than friend. No, you're not somebody's friend if you're on Facebook. Friendship is more than that. Friendship is picking up the phone, calling, visiting when it's safe. But that, and we get stuck into this thing of, this one's a family member and they behave this way and we have to accept them because they're a family member. No, we don't. If they don't respect you, respect your relationship, respect your world, fire them, replace them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah. Alrighty.
Yeah.
Did we run out of topics?
No, we haven't. We're just...
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. Now, we still have more topics. There's more trending news. But I was going to give you a chance to talk about a few things other than me just throwing stuff at you.
Oh, okay. Well, it's been a slow tech week. Or at least from everything I've seen, it's been a quiet tech week. So of course, Joe Biden did get the POTUS account, fully sanitized, absolutely 0 followers when he picked it up. Immediately gained 5 million, I do believe.
Yes.
And continuing to grow.
Mhm.
So yeah, there is that.
Mhm.
But no, I think that is currently the biggest tech news. You did mention an item about Parler.
Did. It had been previously reported that Parler had found a Russian host.
Mhm.
And they did find a Russian host to provide services. They are not back up. The host has came out with a statement, and you brought up something that I wasn't aware of.
Okay.
That they actually host a different organization.
Yeah, they're kind of a despots of the internet. Like, the weirdo fringe groups that they're kind of connected to. I believe Hamas was or still is one. They're pretty okay, whatever, on fringe groups.
Mm-hmm.
And typically they don't care. Right now, they're actually taking a moment on Parler to throw in a crowbar of separation and clarify that no, we're providing services.
Right.
That's kind of a big deal.
Right.
A company that has been very open to fringe groups. This organization is so fringe they don't really want to be deeply connected to them. That's kind of it's a little telling.
Right.
They're at the we'll help you clean up the mess. We don't want to be linked to you. Right. Thank you, have a nice day.
But no, they still haven't found hosting. They, of course, haven't been able to do anything with it. Although fed the FBI, fed the FBI a lot of information. The judge denied their they had filed an injunction against Amazon to stop them from ending the contract. The judge said, "Oh no, Amazon has a right to do that. You should have read your TOS."
Yeah, that's pretty open and shut.
Yeah.
You signed a binding contractual agreement even if you didn't read it.
Right.
Which, I mean, that's a big part of the problems that we now face. And it's an ongoing problem. It's one that's been going for, decades now. User service agreements are a form of contract. Those terms of service are a form of contract. Right. Most people don't read them. Don't feel bad. Most people don't. I will honestly say that I've hit a point in my life that I can't spend that much time. Back when it was a couple of pages or a few pages, yes, I read them. At this point, when we're talking about, what effectively looks like a bank disclosure statement, or a mortgage document that is 30 some pages long, in some of the most dense legalese. Hey.
Well, and here's the thing to understand with their power providers, the contracts are always in their favor. Are always for the company to do what they want to do. All right, so Mary has a question.
Okay. And so Mary, 11/28/57, where did my unmarried brother relocate?
This is weird, but I'm going to say Delaware. Looking at the cards and how they're laid out, we see the Page of Pentacles, which is, of course, him looking from, and then we see the Three of Pentacles, which is to save on money. And, of course, we have the Hierophant, which normally represents a religious state, so I would say Delaware.
Okay. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah.
So Ashley brings up the ADT employee in Texas spying on people in their homes, and you just found that for us.
Yes.
Which is awesome. And once the pop-up stopped. So yeah, apparently pleaded guilty Thursday to charges of computer fraud after admitting he repeatedly accessed unsuspecting computers' home security video feeds.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. This is why you should rotate your passwords on your security systems.
Change your passwords. Do not accept the default password. Never, ever, ever keep the password. Like IT people, we've been preaching this for years.
Yes, I mean, 'cause we had this also with the Ring system. There was a news story saying that they were available to hacking, and it's like, yeah, if you don't go in and change your password. And, we're seeing a lot of this in social media of people getting hacked accounts. Guys, if you are on social media, please turn on
two-factor authentication.
Yes, quickly, because there's some crazy stuff. We have seen everything from lawyers to everybody else getting hacked, to Instagram's being hacked, Twitter's being hacked, because they didn't have two-factor authentication on. That's another drama channel thing going on, is drama channels and public of people. Guys, if you are a public person, you definitely need two-factor authentication. We constantly recommend a lovely program called LastPass. Explain what LastPass is.
Basically, it's a some of you may have heard of PasswordGator. That was a program a couple decades ago that a lot of people had. It was a password storage program. LastPass is a little different. It exists as a phone app and a browser extension. You basically create one password, which is for your account, and then it keeps track of all your other passwords and will pop up to drop them into sites that you're on.
Right.
As well as auto-generating passwords for you. So you can get a more secure password than, what you may come up with on your own. Now with that of course works fairly well. There are some sites and some apps that it's not the greatest with. Like some sites are starting to get a little wonky with password programs, especially sites that first require your username to go to a second screen for your password. LastPass is a little tricky with that. Sometimes it gets cranky. It gets a little harder to use. Right. But the traditional sites that pop up a username password prompt will typically work beautifully with.
Yep.
Yeah. So actually, and I'm noticing I got to, while we were talking, read a little more of the story. This is worse than one would have thought. This wasn't just a failure to change passwords. Installers for ADT are allowed to use their personal email address while setting up a system, but they are supposed to remove that and change it to the customer's email address before they leave. He didn't change the email address on the account. He left it as it was. This could get interesting. So yeah.
So is this a Netflix-y situation?
Sort of, not exactly. It's got to be a weird, we're not familiar with ADT systems. Let's start there. But yeah.
Which, by the way, that's one of the interesting things that happened to us over the past couple weeks. We're big users of Netflix, i.e. they have my show that puts me to sleep on their server right now.
Yes, they do.
So, as I am telling the Cube to take me there and play my show so I can go to sleep, there was a new account. And I'm like, huh?
Yeah, the profiles that you can add for Netflix, we had a different one. A new one that none of us created. Pretty obvious, pretty like ding. Because we do each have our own profiles. So yeah, we very quickly went okay and did a mass password reset.
Yeah.
Or the account password reset, which has been fun because that's meant signing everything back in. The one thing LastPass will not help you with at all in the slightest is reprogramming devices.
It will not. However, guys, pay attention. Netflix does not have a profile called Setup. It does not have a profile called Netflix. It does not have a profile called Settings. And we have seen this appear up a number of times in news and articles about these places that are like Netflix, the small little crap, but it's way hackers can get in and use the service you're paying for.
Yeah. Which, I mean, some people don't necessarily care about. Like, a lot of people will, like, create their account and then share that, like, a Sam's Club membership or a Costco membership card. And just like, here, go use it. I don't care. They never pay attention.
They're certain too.
Well, but there's also issues with that. As in, yes, you are technically, getting something for someone else for free. And, like, screw the corporate world, kind of mentality. But you're also creating a situation in which you're responsible for what those users watch. Always remember that. It's the same as when and granted, Netflix, there's not a lot that you can do there. Like, generally content minus a few exceptions, in which Netflix has had to pull content. Most of their content is going to be perfectly legal.
Right.
But, it can get a little dicey because if someone has that password, that can open you up to some things. It's a bigger issue on site, on things like Prime, for example, where you can buy content. Again, Netflix, not a ton you can do there. Especially if we're talking about signed-in devices like televisions and Fire Sticks and things like that. If we're talking about devices, there's not a ton you can do.
Right.
At least not that I've seen. There's not a lot of individually purchased content. But if you're talking about like Prime, Amazon Prime, sharing that with someone, setting someone else's device up with your Prime access, you're agreeing to be responsible for any purchases made on that account, and that could very quickly get ugly. Like, there are parents that have been reduced to tears because they share an account and log in, etc., with a child who doesn't really comprehend that, mommy and daddy are going to pay for this. And they're going to care.
Well, the other thing, though, granted, we do not do this, but that's a lead-in. Like, oh, well, I can get into your Netflix account. Oh, I can get into your Hulu. Oh, I can get into your Amazon account. Oh, I can get into X. I can get into Y. I can get into Z. It's like when I was hacked, 9 months ago, 10 months ago, they accessed it by accessing an email that I didn't use in 10 years, 20 years.
Yeah. But was the unfortunate dumping ground for all those pretty newsletters.
Yes.
Basically, you used an account as a sign-up address.
Right.
And then just didn't check it.
Right.
Like, a lot of things were tied to it, but you weren't actively using it. It wasn't like, this is how you contact me if we're friends. This wasn't a professional email. It was just one you had that you could pop up long enough to hit the activate link to close it back down and be like, I don't care about your sale. I don't care about your credit card receipt. I don't care. I don't need 4,000 notifications about, this, that, and everything else. A lot of people have that. And often because that is what's kind of considered a throwaway account, you don't really care about the password for it either until you realize this becomes your account recovery email address.
Right. Well,
and then suddenly it's very important.
Yeah. Well, at one time it was my main account. It was an account when there was Yahoo Messenger and Yahoo Messenger chat rooms and Yahoo this and Yahoo that. That had been forever ago, and I had left it and went on to other lovely servers that, enabled POP and IAPM, especially when I was getting like 4,000 to 5,000 emails a day, which my email boxes are even crazier. But nowadays, moving on, it was like, okay, yeah, that's a reset email address for everything. Someone hacked it. They were able to access my main account, which accessed everything. And we were like, oh, hell, terminate. And that's when I got two-factor authentication on everything.
Yes. And it was when you gave up the fight against LastPass.
I did.
I tried to get you to use it before then, and you so that we would have the ability for accounts we do share as a household, because you hate you hate my passwords. And you really hate the ones it generates when you have to type them in letter and symbol and number by number. Because it's not like, it's not like when you buy a router now and it's like coffee dot, 411, filter, whatever. That's the kind of crap that our ISP does. Is there a word dot a number dot a word? It's not like that. It's never that easy. Mine are hashtag $1497XQMR41112G. With a mixture of upper and lowercase. That is what the app does for you. It's garbage. It is, or as the invisible assistant loves to call them, keyboard vomit. It literally looks like you took a piñata, filled it with letters and characters and symbols and everything else, smacked that little piñata, picked up 12, 14, 16 pieces, however long a password the site requires or you want to give it, and this is what you get. It is like, bleh, and here's
what I like is the biotech. I am so ready for that on other things and other websites other than just my cell phone.
Fingerprint access is nice. Fingerprint access can be nice. Now, we'll say, though, as a warning, if you're using on an authenticator app, be very careful when you change your phone. I about had a heart attack when I bought my new phone. I had an IT dumb, I will admit to. I had an IT dumb. I didn't even think about the things that were set up in Google Authenticator as a two-factor authentication of generating a unique code that you have to put in. It didn't even enter my mind because the things I use it for, I use it very rarely. Until you really, really have to use it. Thankfully, I keep my backup recovery codes. It's the only thing that saved me. Because if you misplace those and you have two-factor authentication set up with an authenticator app and you have, wiped that device, ooh, you're going to have a bad day. I'll tell you right now. I looked up, I keep my codes, I could find them quickly and fix the problem. The first time I realized what I'd done, that I forgot that step, I was actually having to try to fix something. And I, went to log into the site and it's like, okay, now go to the Authenticator app and give us the code. And I went, oh, I forgot that. I totally forgot that. But again, I was lucky. I kept my codes. I was a good boy. Oh, it was a moment, though. It was stressful.
Yes. And it can be very stressful, especially when you're going through that. The first thing to do if you've been hacked is stop everything and start fresh.
Absolutely. And that can be troublesome.
Yeah.
And I understand that for people. I've been there. I actually had an ex that I had shared passwords with, which is why I love LastPass, is because what had happened with an ex, I had and it was dumb IT, but I had a group of accounts that were, like Domino's Pizza. Stupid little online accounts, and I had one stupid little password for them that I'd happened to use just one more place that I shouldn't have used it, and I honestly knew better. And yeah, it was an ugly situation. I ended up it created a lot of drama for me. It was also the day that I learned that, and most companies have gotten better about reporting lost and stolen phones, but that was also the day that I learned that for AT&T at the time, all you needed to know was a phone number and the person's phone number, and you could call and report anyone's phone lost or stolen.
Yeah.
They would immediately deactivate it. I woke up to a crap storm.
And it wasn't me. Let's to clarify, it wasn't me.
No, this was 2007. A lot of phone company, I was irate at the phone company, at my cell provider. It was AT&T. I was so irate in that moment. I was like, who the hell thought this was a good idea that I can literally sit here and try to make a payment, and I have to go through this long, convoluted system of proving who I am to make an over-the-phone payment. So you can collect money from me. God forbid, if someone wants to pay my phone bill and they got my phone number, they should be able to call in whenever and surprise me.
Right.
But if I need to report my phone lost or stolen, I have to verify nothing. Not my date of birth, not a unique number that I've chosen. None of this. All you needed at the time was to know someone's cell phone number. And that's it. What provider they were, if they were with that provider, what that provider's lost or stolen phone number to report was. And that's it. That's all you needed to know. I didn't know this. So this was new information to me. I was absolutely irate with that agent. And if they ever happen to remember me and watch the show, sorry. It was a bad day. But it was also a really stupid company policy. I apologize for the things I called you.
Right.
I was really mad at a system that absolutely asininely stupid. Because it's just to make a payment, I have to prove who I am. But I can disconnect service or at least turn off a phone just by calling a number and entering 10 digits. That's it. That's all I got to do. Really, who thought that was a good plan?
Well, and it can be a very problematical situation. That breakup was problematical in so many ways.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So we've hit that hour 30 mark.
Yes, we have. Okay, we just got a comment real fast, though, on Shannon. She got some little entrepreneurs over there. My kids tried to sell Disney Plus passwords until they found out I wouldn't give it to them. Nah, give me your phone and I'll put it in.
True. Very good move. And very entrepreneurial, very good. Encourage that with, I don't know, craft making.
The privileges you have in life.
But guys, Patreons in the break room. I'll cover this here because I also covered it in there. Each week, I'll, the day before the day of the show, you see a post going, what do y'all want us to talk about? Please, if you run into news articles, you want our opinions, you get the privilege to tell us what you want to hear about and to get our take on it. Secondly, if you're watching in the break room, which, yes, we do stream directly to the break room, your comments are published in the break room. We can see them here. We no longer have that. No longer gives the bot people the ability to harass.
Basically, we don't have to go deleting a bunch of comments.
Yes. Thirdly, and this is really, really the fun part of this, is you guys can talk interminglingly in there comfortably because that's what the break room is for. Feel free to do that. We are working on February's newsletter. It'll be out hopefully on time. This is our Valentine's edition, so of course it's going to be love and relationship related a lot. So hopefully y'all guys are looking forward to that. If you're not a Patreon, be sure to check out our Patreon and take it away.
All right. And of course, we want to thank Beverly Walker, Mika G, Kathy, Mary Winfield, Brenda Bryant, Ashley Gist, and the Crystal Lotus Shop. If you want to learn more about the show, about how to become a Patreon sponsor, please visit PCSPnetwork.com. You will also notice we have finally gotten the SSL certificate set up for that. So it is now a secure site, and you won't get that annoying nag screen.
Yep.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, we're fixing a lot of things.
We've been busy.
We're fixing a lot of things. We're launching a lot of things. I'm launching my new educational site. Right behind that will be a new site for our Patreons that is specifically so that you can take that gets more Patreon benefits. And then after that, I'm going to be redoing my store, and there'll be more stuff and things added there. Again, the store is my proprietary things I think you guys will like, handmade items that'll be one of a kind. But it also will give you guys, and of course, we're still working on merch. We're reviewing places for merch. I'm really looking forward to either a t-shirt or a hoodie that says relationships aren't microwavable and different Aesonisms. But if you're a merch provider, we would prefer to deal with a small merch provider than a big one. But if we have to go big, we'll go big.
Go big or go home.
Well, I know, but still, I like to deal with small companies and support small companies. But, so yeah, there's going to be a lot more things added to our Patreon members that'll give us Patreon, that will be Patreon only.
Oh, wow. We're adding more stuff? What?
Yeah, like a private Patreon only store that has, I know, rates just for Patreon members.
Yeah.
Including, and I figured out a way to do it, although I can't do it on my mega site. I have, meaning I can't do it on Key, but I have a different system that can provide click on demand a connection with me that I can actually set a Patreon only rate to.
Nice.
Yes.
Very awesome. Yeah. Which, by the way, the discount's totally worth it. Just saying. Like, if you're looking to take a class.
Yeah. Patreon members get 50% off of classes. Patreon members are going to have a call button where they're going to get a substantially lower rate for my on-demand. They're going to have private appointment times that are different from what is available. So, yeah, there's going to be some really interesting things that I'm in development with for my Patreons.
Absolutely. And if you are a Patreon sponsor and you ever get he rejects you, that's because you didn't use your code and he ain't letting you pay full price.
Right. But again, that's stuff that I can control. If you go to another network, if you go to a network site, you're going to see me and you're coupon code's not going to work there because, of course, we don't have affiliates yet. We also aren't monetized yet, and we probably will never be monetized on like YouTube or anything else. But no, I'm definitely going to be spending probably the next quarter developing the Patreon program to give you guys more benefits. And, we have really good Patreon pricing. You enter from $1 a month to, I think our highest is 10.
Mm-hmm. 1-5-10.
Yep, 1-5-10. I've thought about launching one that's for companies. That'll be the $35 one that that'll give companies benefits. But again, I'm going to be asking Patreon members what they think about that.
Ooh,
yes.
There we go.
Yeah. All right, guys. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. I have a coffee chat on Monday that I'm going to put up as an event. This is with Dottie the Psychic. As you guys know, I came over to and done something on her channel. She's now coming over and doing something on ours. And then Tuesday, of course, we're back to the Psychic Coffee Shop, giving you news in your spiritual cup of Joe, which I find so hilarious that was our tagline from the beginning. And now is Joe,
the atheist.
The atheist. It's hilariously, it's manifestation gone wrong.
I think you'll be going back to the spell book on that one, going, what did I? Oh, I did it on a Mercury in retrograde.
We'll be talking about that next week because we are entering into a Mercury in retrograde. Yes. Our first one of the year. All right, y'all. Have a great weekend. We love y'all. Bye.
Bye. Good night. Good weekend.
Good weekend.